started since it's 10 after. There's not, the basic purpose of this meeting is to brainstorm strategy. And it's not as if any, talking head is going to be up here telling you what the strategies are.
Are there questions that people have? I'm here.
Well, yeah, okay. If there are questions that people have, that's fine, but I would not necessarily expect that.
Everybody here.
I know. I'm just kind of leading the meeting. So, but I mean, if there are issues that need to be discussed, I don't want to spend an awful lot of time on that though, because I mean, I'm assuming that we're all anti-fracking, etc. Yes, Dan.
Thanks. Yeah. If we were to learn that 80-some% of the property all around Ravenna has already sold their leases that way, that wouldn't surprise anyone, right?
No. Lord.
Sometimes one of the things that's been going on is they're selling these leases. Who is it? ENRD. Who sells those?
Well, people public auction leases.
More or less, if you don't own the mineral rights and everything that's under your property, they can buy it up and go right underneath you. That's the scariest part. I read somewhere just the other day that if places that hold a mortgage on your house, they can see dollar signs. And from what I understand, if you don't pay for your house and foreclose on it, the frackers just buy it up. So
gas and oil has been really active in Muskegon County and all the counties around here, probably all over Michigan, just trying to buy up gas and oil from the landowners if they have large parcels of land. And especially quite close to Lake Michigan, that's
and there's actually a gentleman here tonight who, I don't know where he went, but, oh, there you are, who actually was approached to have this.
Yeah, I own 125 acres in Ravenna Township, and I was approached.
Do you know the name of the company?
I do. There was two companies. Two of them. And one gate wanted $750, I think it was. The other was $10 an acre per year.
$10.
What?
$10 an acre?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
It's incredible.
It's a lease. $10 a year.
They're only getting the middle, I guess.
It was a 5-year lease for $50. See?
Yeah,
Right.
I know.
Okay, yes, Nina.
Okay. Well, when we were together Saturday, me and a few of my friends, we made a call to Swanson Pickle Farm, right? And the gal said there, I guess it's the wife, said that he was out right then with the pickles. But she said that 85% of the land around there's already sold their leases. There's nothing anybody can do. It's out of everybody's hands.
But I know Swanson owns a lot of
But actually, it's not true that there's nothing anywhere.
That's just what she said. I have no idea. Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The other thing that I just wanted to let people know before we start talking is that the DEQ, I requested a public hearing, which was the wrong thing to request. However, they said, okay, you meant public meeting, right? And I said yes. They have absolutely no compulsion to have a public meeting. However, they're willing to. So sooner or later, there will be an informational meeting held, and right now we're probably looking at Evanston Township would be my best. We'll get it out there as close as possible. And the Swanson guy, will be invited to that. I don't think he necessarily has to come, but I just wanted to get that on people's radar that that's coming down the pipe.
Could I get a show of hands of people who were at the county building when the MDEQ came?
What'd you say? What'd you say? What did you say?
I talked to the Township Supervisor, and he said that his hands were tied.
Well, it's all to the state. They're basically, the county doesn't have much to do with it. I mean, it's all, my understanding is all state regulated.
State regulated. However, one of the things that's come out is that there are, is that there's,
What did Karen say?
that townships actually do have some control. And that's, you know, obviously one of the strategies that we're on.
And there's also controversy regarding the water extraction and who has responsibility for that.
Right.
But how many people were at the county building when the MDEQ came and did their informational meeting? Because that was very frustrating, and then they wouldn't answer any questions.
Right, and I don't
Did we get that
expect
tape?
we will
Yeah, I
answer
think we
questions.
did.
I think it will be
Yeah.
similar to the second Melching meeting that was held at the City Hall. You know, I think that they will answer questions. I just think that they're going to answer it from their perspective. So we have to expect that. I mean, it's not going to be like, you know, we're not going to go to that meeting and change their minds. In fact, actually, we can't change their minds because they have to do what the law tells them to do. So basically, we can change the law. And to that end, before we start talking again about strategy, you know, an additional strategy is one that's already in place, and that is to do a ballot initiative in the state of Michigan to ban fracking outright. And Lori, I guess this would be a good time for you to talk a little bit about that.
If anybody wants to volunteer to circulate, there's a few papers left over here, not a lot. But I did put up a Facebook page, Muskegon Anti-Fracking, something like that. The petitions can hit the streets on Friday. I've had a lot of things going on the past few weeks, so I'm not real prepared, so I'm kind of rushing at the last minute. But anyone that wants to participate, more important, help spread the word. I've done several other petitions. I was the head for the Recall Snyder also here.
Hey.
In my experience, word of mouth was one of the biggest helps there was. If you can't actually circulate the petitions, spread the word, help spread word about meetings. That's the biggest help there is. But yeah, we're going to start Friday. I haven't got any events made yet though.
When's the deadline? When's the deadline to get those in for
The
us?
signing date is until October.
Yeah,
October. Right on going, and then take the best route out of the whole thing.
And it's 300,000 signatures.
Cake.
The one thing is if you want to sign it,
Karen could do that in the weekend.
If you want to sign it, or if you want to come and get any, Lori is going to be at the Earth Fair, which is April 27th at the Merit Building.
Directions from you on that, so I have no idea where that is.
Oh, it's just up the street. So you know,
It's a Friday.
if you want to come and get petitions from her there, or if you want to.
Before that to get everybody for petitions, hopefully, but if not, we'll be there.
Maybe if you think that you want to circulate petitions and you can get like a very brief training on how to do it, you could leave your name with Lori and she can.
Yeah, and we will actually, after we do all this brainstorm, so just to give you an idea of the agenda, we're going to do a whole bunch of brainstorming about potential strategies. Not we're not going to spend a lot of time on any given one. And then afterwards, we're going to more or less vote on what we think are the best strategies, or you know, what's a strategy that you feel like you could do, and then we're going to write it up on here, and then you're going to be able to sign up.
Cool.
So we want to make sure that people sign up before they leave, so that we don't miss some of the energy, the potential energy.
It's going to be a brainstorm,
I was
right?
thinking about going around and having people introduce themselves. I don't know if that's a good idea or not.
Take a lot of time.
But one thing I guess I would like to ask is, how many people in the room are from Ravenna? Okay.
Where's all your
How
friends?
many people in the room are from more or less Ravenna?
We're just outside of Ravenna.
Okay, yeah, so, because, I mean, another thing is that, you know, we may find if we do pursue this strategy, I suppose I should talk a little bit about that too. So there's something called Flow for Michigan, and the head of Flow for Michigan is an environmental attorney who's just about retirement. And so he started Flow for Michigan, and he apparently has some kind of a package that for $2,500 he'll come and work with the township and help them to to enact a bunch of ordinances that will protect your township. There's also West Bloomfield has just now banned it outright, and they banned it after the fact. Is what
For a year though, isn't it?
What?
Isn't it
Yeah,
for a year? Well, I think more or less what the moratoriums are is banning it until a safe way can be found, which isn't going to happen, so.
Well, right, but also in terms of the ballot initiative, I mean, you know, if we can just get a moratorium on it for long enough to put
I
ballot.
think if we follow every strategy and just block everything, it's going to be, just make sure everything, all roads are blocked.
Well, and that's why we just need to get brainstorming and everybody just throw out what they
Okay, hold on just a minute. Morning.
I've worked with several groups that have worked with flow, and in my opinion, as far as fracking goes, if we want to make any dent whatsoever, the best option we could do right now quickly is to get flow to come as soon as possible.
Well, I would like to do that.
They have done
So
absolutely wonderful.
That's definitely a strategy, and the main
Six.
I'm not exactly sure what it is. Flow for water, actually, I think is what it's called. But yeah, I mean, I know Jim Olson, and you know, I would trust him with my life. I mean, he knows, you know, how to. He's a lawyer, and he's a clever man, and so you know, I think getting him involved quickly, I agree with you. All right, so there are basically two issues. One issue is how do we just ban fracking altogether. The other issue is there anything we can do about these the permit applications? And I say plural, even though I think that only one of them is really. Kathy, do you have the papers?
Yeah, Audrey gave them to me. I made a couple copies last night of the application, but another thing that we identified was that in Revanna, there are only one of two areas in Muskegon County where they have a source water and wellhead protection program because their municipal water supply comes from groundwater, where in Muskegon we get Lake Michigan water, right? So the area of their protection zone for protecting this groundwater is right there, right at the fracking site.
That's what I want to know.
Well, which you can pick it. So there's supposed to be, whenever you have this wellhead protection program and you're in partnership with the DEQ on this, then the DEQ permit reviewers are supposed to always look at, give an extra look or whatever.
Okay, so strategy is yes.
So would you suggest that as a strategy that we look at that as a comment to make on the current
Definitely comment on that, because what we're reading online from what other communities have done is you always have to find some other, you know, some other end. And so this is just an additional one that we happen to have here that's kind of unique from what I've seen from any other community. This is the wellhead protection area.
Yes, I've seen
This is public drinking water, you know?
It's incredible.
I mean, it's supposed to be protected, and the flow from where the fracking would occur is directly upstream going into the zone.
Incredible.
What's it called again?
And we have a handout that show
Wellhead projection,
and, you know, I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn about this because we met last night, and do you want to talk more about
Oh,
that?
where'd you go?
Or do you want to just keep doing that? Okay. So, you know, that's something that definitely needs to be brought to the attention of the DEQ. If they still don't have a permit, they applied for a permit, they don't have a permit, it definitely has to be.
Well, it's something that's not, I know, decided, because I read minutes from the meeting with the public health, and they said that they are not sure about who has jurisdiction over the water extraction, whether it's the local health department.
Should ask him live.
The DEQ.
But the wellhead protection program.
Right.
Yeah, and we have some handouts here so people can get a better idea. There's this circle area right here. That's the geographic area where water is supposed to be protected. In fact, you found that there's actually some additional areas outside of this that are, this is the source water protection area. There's another
Grab one of those for me, would you?
area that is outside of there. Montague and Whitehall have something similar because they have groundwater.
Matt, you gotta grab one.
Wasn't this like, yes, that's the same division.
Come on, assert yourself.
As
Sure.
the oil, gas, and minerals, right?
Well, probably not. Drinking water.
It's
drinking water. I found community water supplies, you know, wellhead protection programs.
Well, I mean, I was thinking.
Did you see one of those?
You have water, you know,
Yeah, this is the water. It's the drinking water.
Okay, so I had question wellhead protection implications for Ravenna.
Yeah, is there public water supply? Is there public water supply? Not long, private.
Oh, I want to keep it. I want to scan it.
We're supposed to have more stringent regulations when it comes to anything involved in water.
All right, so let's just start brainstorming more solutions, and for not longer than a half hour.
Good.
Do other people, I mean, I know that several of us have been to other meetings. I think that certainly on the Facebook page, like Joe, for example, has proposed working with other groups, forming coalitions, liaisons, etc.
I would suggest getting Ottawa County involved. It's right on the borderline of Ottawa County. It says, welcome to Muskegon County right there.
Coalition. Is the water body Property Creek?
Yes.
Okay, so.
And the Grand River watershed, so what about maybe West Michigan River Action Council or the
West Michigan River Action Council is already involved.
But in this particular case.
What was the other suggestion about?
They know about it. Forming coalitions. Or that? Yeah, forming coalitions out of county, which I've got that.
You finished?
And certainly the forming
pack it up.
coalitions, I mean, obviously.
Are you finished with it? I'll pass it. Okay. You want to hang on to this for a second?
Yeah.
You know,
And Karen, that's Chester Township right there, in Ottawa County.
okay. All right, any other ideas? Yes.
I'd like to try to Grand Rapids called mutual aid or direct action based group. So,
Yeah, okay, hold on just a minute.
Can people be quiet, so I'm going to try to get everybody's strategies written
All right,
down.
so right mutual aid. Yeah, I was actually in that March that they did.
yeah, Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to go in that direction at all, I'm sure they'd be very open to working mutual aid.
It's just, so some thoughts about other people, other groups that we might form a coalition with. We don't have to do them all, but that's this. Anybody else? I mean, obviously, let's get ready. Yes.
Well, I'm with the Sierra Club and being as a national organization, we may be able to tap into what has been successful around the country. We've talked about what worked in Bloomfield Hills, and I know that in other states the laws may be different, both statewide and locally, but still, why, as far as strategy, why reinvent the wheel?
Right.
Somebody has,
And we already have liaisons very closely with Sierra Club. In fact, actually, one of the Rita Chapman, I don't know if you know Rita, reviewed the application for us. And Shirley Callio, who's just gone to training, said she was going to try and be here tonight, but she definitely has said that she'll give us assistance. So
yeah, I'm here because of her email, so maybe.
Yeah, she's definitely on board. Craig Brainerd was part of that email thread, but I didn't hear anything.
Well, I just, again,
So
what
another-
have other townships and counties done that has worked? I don't know who you asked that question.
Ask them how they did it.
Well, Detroit just stopped it. This was just,
Yeah,
Oh, there you
Detroit,
go.
right, yes, I heard
they
Detroit.
just did it.
Yeah,
So-
so then that's another strategy, contact other communities that have passed ordinances or plans or whatever.
What's worked so far, I believe in one community in Colorado and in one state on the East Coast was, they challenged as to what was inside the brine being used, and it was called a secret, a business secret.
Right.
Okay.
Every well-drinking business knows the secret, but the only people it's secret from are the public.
Yep.
And the fact is that in the state of Michigan, you do have to disclose what chemicals you have, because you have to do a material safety data sheet, which is a MIOSHA, Michigan Occupational Safety and Hazard Administration, whatever, it's a workplace thing. You have to disclose that, but as long as it's proprietary in Michigan, you're exempt. which is ridiculous.
And especially because they're going to keep water injected
Sure.
back into
Yeah.
that. But what is, did people have other successful bannings besides Detroit and Bloomfield?
Joy had mentioned that the situation with Bloomfield, I believe, they are willing to work with other townships and places and tell them the wording that they use.
Right, you just get it.
Yeah, that's what's important.
In fact, I think she even said it might be online.
Yeah, she was trying to find it, she must be like mine today, no?
Yeah, right, I know. Joy Smith from Let's Anti-Fracking 50 years
Wayne
No.
County, Wayne County, that's another one that, I mean. they're
Wayne
really-
County itself has?
Yes, Wayne County.
Oh, I know.
I found that on the internet. There's you'd be surprised,
Yeah.
the people that would
I
have
think
to
the
stop.
other key is trying to beat them at a local level. I
Yeah.
don't know how many locations, the smaller locations, realize that they can do these things.
No, I know.
Just to slow them down, just to tell, basically what a lot of these are, they put up these moratoriums, they make them up, and they have to do it in a certain way, to slow them down, to assure them, until the government can look into it to see if it's environmentally safe. That's the least they could do, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's why they're trying to stick in here. They're trying to get in here because there's not enough.
Oh, no, they're just relying on science.
Get drills. So
Work
that
with
we
the
can
energy
take care of
companies,
that.
where the entity whatsoever, Secretary of
Yes.
the Interior is.
What about contacting, I am I'm very new to this, so, and I've been gone about 10 years out of the area, but I'm born and raised in Ravenna, so this piqued my interest as soon as I found out about it, and I was on the horn, but, what about the environmental defense fund? Because what they have done in Pennsylvania have come up with that coalition of, and it's not a banning, but it's a stricter set of requirements that they have to play by. It's basically an oversight committee where it's part industry, part environmentalists, part private people. And I've contacted them to try to get some response from them, and we got nothing. But that covers Pennsylvania, Ohio, New York, and maybe one other state. And I know the environmental defense fund was applicant there.
Environmental defense fund?
Yes.
And that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes?
Another contact might be the Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund. We just recently got in touch with Chad Nicholson to help us out for the Occupy National Gathering, and they are very much about starting things at the grassroots level. And so he'll be working with us on environmental issues here and homeless bill of rights.
Okay,
so that might be another
What's
option.
the Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund?
Yes.
And where are they at?
Pennsylvania. He's specifically out of Pennsylvania.
All right. Any other thoughts?
There's earth justice.
Yeah.
An extraordinary amount of pollution already.
This is no immediate strategy, but due to our dear friend Dick Cheney, big oil and big gas are exempt from Safe Drinking Water Act and Clean Air Act. So, just writing your congressmen and senators that exemption needs to go.
Mhm.
They don't have to play by the rules everybody else does.
I would write the President of the United States.
That's Dick Cheney. Halliburton. Yeah, they're behind the kids, so, too.
So, are there any other legislative fixes? Any other legislative fixes that people can think of, like state? I mean, obviously the purpose of the whole ballot is to
One of those ratifications or whatever is, I do know that they have proven that in Oklahoma, that's what created that earthquake.
Yeah.
And Staples.
Okay.
Or if you're anywhere near Lansing, stop to see your local representative. It carries a lot of weight when they go into, the input they have toward the DEQ or whatever, and when they vote on legislation. If some of their constituency is taking the time to stop by and let them know how you feel.
Yeah, blanket them with letters and phone calls, put them on robo dial.
All right. Well, that's
Robocall, especially.
So did you get that?
The robocall.
Yeah, or whatever. Like anti-fracking stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing you're going to be able to do to stop it in Muskegon and Oceana County now is take them to court and get an injunction. You're going to have to find a lawyer either through the Green Party or through, there was someone, we had the meeting in Montague the other day, somebody mentioned a couple of lawyers that were involved in that behind the petition. I can't remember who they were.
Jim Olson.
No, it wasn't him. It was somebody that they mentioned a couple lawyers that were behind the petition drive.
Yeah.
I can't remember the group they were with, but if you're going to stop it here, that's the only way you're going to be able to do it at this point.
But the only thing is now, from Joyce Smith, we did get the information that, I mean, I think that's a perfectly good strategy, but from Joyce Smith, we got the information that the one in West Bloomfield was retroactive, so that was, that was not the only way to stop it.
Okay. That's good
I've
news.
never heard of such a thing, but, I mean, if they can do it,
But wasn't that because the moratorium that they had wrote up was not worded properly, so they had to rewrite it? They had to rewrite that.
Oh, okay.
And I'm thinking that's how it
that's
happened.
Yeah,
Because it has to be worded that you're not banning them totally. You just want to slow down. You want more time to look into
Moratorium.
Yes. More time to look into their safety.
Yes, Mark Evans.
Trying to do something at a state level is all well and good, but it's time consuming. You may try to concentrate on Ravenna Township, Moreland Township, all these township governments which are much more accessible and easier. I mean, if you want to put a petition together, you don't need 1 million signatures. You only need enough to cover what goes on in that particular community. So working on a smaller, more local level seems like an easier strategy than trying to get something done statewide to me. In addition to that, it's important that you go out and talk to these local folks and let them know, especially if you live in those areas, to let them know where you stand on this. You are their constituents, and they represent you. My understanding of that is in Eggleston, they're already working to write something up, so it won't be allowed in Eggleston Township. So the more local you get, the easier it is to do it, especially if you can get the residents in that area to back you. That's just
with the tools we have today and what's been successful so far.
Exactly. And that seems to be what has been successful so far, at least as far as slowing things down, and it's much quicker to do things locally than it is on a larger level.
You can go to the board meetings.
Exactly. Well, I mean,
No. You have to support the local governments and help them.
Karen has been talking.
You have to go and educate them. You have to go and support them and say, hey, this is what your community wants.
Make the difference.
They're the ones at the ground level who can really make a difference.
Because so many people don't know.
That's the thing.
Where my neighbors are sitting at home. I mean, I've been known for 10 years. I don't know that many people here anymore, but people don't know about it. They'll be like, what?
There's no
What's that mean?
And they
What's
don't-
fracking? I mean, nobody knows that.
And they don't understand they can help.
Maybe that's an idea is to do some informational meetings.
So I think that's a good strategy.
Educate township officials.
Media coverage.
I will do that. Well, I want to put it in the record. I want to put it in the independent. I want to put an ad in the independent if we have a meeting in Ravenna. So
Why doesn't somebody put some information? Why doesn't somebody put some information? I'm not well versed enough to do it, but if somebody were to put some information up, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm willing to walk the streets and distribute those.
Okay.
Yeah, we could do
And back to the point about
That's how many people are going to start getting that.
No, signatures.
Oh, the petition,
It would be helpful if the petition does end up being something that, say, Ravenna Township wants to do.
Right.
Then to have people to help go around and get the signatures. That's something people like us could go to that community and help with, but we would want to first make sure that Ravenna Township is
okay with that.
Okay,
Well, that's the thing. For the Chamber of Commerce in Ravenna, John Swanson is the president of the Chamber of Commerce. So he's going to have some ways that people are like, well, John thinks it's okay. It must be okay. All his family lives here. His grandkids live here. It must be okay. That's what that's going to be.
They're moving it better.
Okay.
So that's not the reason not to.
No.
We're not supposed to be evaluating these.
I think one of the biggest things this group can do is to educate. If there was ignorance out there and taught the practical, so people are going to say you're going to get cheaper fuel, but in the long run you're not going to get cheaper food. You're going to have a earth you can't live on. And I think that's the big thing you can do without destroying yourself at this time, is get a lot of publicity out there. Get a lot of flyers out there. The Chronicle's not going to do it,
No.
and any other well-established organization. And if we can do that, we can start to get the ignorance out of the people, because this is why it's happening, ignorance. And we want to stimulate their heads and move forward.
Yeah, like he said.
Okay, anybody else? Oh, Dylan.
I have a question. In some conversations I've had, it was brought to my attention that some folks who are living there in Ravenna currently may have been the ones who have signed the lease themselves. Other people may have bought homes where those mineral rights were sold long ago. And so we need to know and differentiate those groups when we talk to them. People who are victimized and need our help, and people who are willfully signing away this. And I, personally don't think that not knowing is an excuse. We have the internet. There's all kinds of ways. If you're going to sell your land and your mineral rights for pennies on the dollar, I would hope you'd look into it a little bit before you sign on the line. People don't, but
Well, people don't. Yeah.
but that doesn't mean I feel kindly towards them because they didn't. They deserve some criticism and some pressure.
But so you're suggesting that we try to figure out...
Yeah, it's my understanding that there are a number of Freedom of Information Act requests that have been put in to find out who has signed leases. And if we can coordinate those with the addresses, we can figure out who's signed and who's being victimized amongst the population.
Yeah, differentiate people who signed away mineral rights versus those whose rights have been signed away out there.
I guess the liberals can be okay.
It's been my understanding that the state owns all the mineral rights, and the oil companies need the property owners' rights in order to bring their equipment onto the land itself. But every 5 years, the state will go ahead and resell those mineral rights, and that would be the time for the landowner to go ahead and purchase his own mineral rights. But every 5 years, he'll have to keep buying them back.
That's wrong.
Okay, that's an interesting question.
State-owned land.
Yeah.
The state doesn't just own authorized mineral rights.
I think
That's not state land.
If it was an auction, I didn't think it was.
So that's something that we need to ponder on. So that's a question. State-owned all.
Okay, Shanti?
How about some looking into the local regulations such as loan laws or any kind of laws that might be on the books in Ravenna that would maybe put a stop to it?
Such as what laws?
Load laws or
maximum
capacity. Or any other kind of laws that would be on the books in
Boy, I
the
saw a
city.
big heavy truck on the Melching today, going to load it down. I don't know what it's
Yeah, you would pick up a lot of time.
Food and Water Watch is also working with cities. It's another petition, except it's for local ordinances, so it may or may not conflict or be confusing in terms of the statewide petition we have going around. But they have worked successfully in Grand Rapids to get a ban there, and they're working with cities across the country to get those local ordinances, so that might be another option.
So you're saying that Food and Water Watch has successfully put a ban in Grand Rapids?
I don't think so.
No,
That's what I think. That's
I don't think so.
Okay, I've been talking to.
No, I mean, I know this is Yeah, well, they were working on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they are.
Yeah, some of them are.
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
I think one of the biggest problems is when you talk, people think, just like you thought, this is an oil well, it's going to go straight down. People aren't aware of the big difference between horizontal deep well, because we've had those little oil wells all over the place. They're all leaking. But this is something totally different.
Right.
This is something totally different. They're going farther in, they're going out both ways, they're fracturing the earth. This is fairly new. I think this started right around 2005.
Halliburton invented it. What they do is they go down, just like what they did in Gulf of Mexico. They go down and they drill, and in this case, in the Gulf of Mexico, when they hit the floor bottom of the ocean, they kept drilling down more, and then they poured gas or cement down there in order to make a plug. And then the chemicals are put down in there, and when they pull the pipe up, the cement goes down, plugs it up, it fracks, and then they run the drill back down and start pumping it up.
Yeah, because there is such a thing, and the reason that I thought this, it was just because we did have the person who's here and look at the application, and she thought that it was just vertical. However, including fracking, you know.
I think where are you getting the 500 number? Off the permit? That's just a description
On
of
the application.
On the application, that is just a description of the location. That's just saying where it is. I don't think that means that they're going horizontal.
I had read in the paper that they were going horizontally.
That's what I
They are.
Well, I don't know, sure.
They are.
Some of you have to permit too, and it looks like it's somewhere in the description of where it's going to be.
It doesn't really matter because what's vertical or horizontal fracking is still damage.
Also, a lot of the problems with your water don't show up right away either. It will show up maybe 6 months or a year later.
Oh, at least.
Because if you go horizontal and then you break these rocks, there's one weak spot where it can get to the surface, see? It takes a time for it to work to the surface. So it may be a year, 2 years before that problem shows up.
Yeah,
And by that time, the oil companies will say, we didn't do that.
Well,
You
even
know, you have to hire a lawyer to try to.
on the MDEQ website, it says, if you're having problems, your water starts to taste bad, or it starts to have funny smells, there's an in-home, these problems can be rectified with an in-home filter system. And then they have the company next to them that they want you to pay. Right, I'm like, you gotta have to be kidding me.
Oh, yeah. I would like to just for a second propose a strategy. One of the things that I would like to do is go on that DEQ website. I don't know how many people have done this, but look at what they say about fracking. There's a Q&A fact sheet. And look at it and just you know, get, you know,
Well, it's the same.
So but this is a task that I'm suggesting, that we go and look at the DEQ website and just do a point-by-point refutation of the stuff that they,
Refutation?
you know, of the things that they say, because, you know, as many of us know, you know, there was this earthquake in Oklahoma. The DEQ website says, well, if you have an earthquake, it's probably just going to be a small one. and, you know, and they talk about microquakes, et cetera. But now apparently there's been one in Oklahoma that was much larger. So, you know, I mean, it would be good to just go do an evidence-based, you know, because they are always claiming, you know, for example, well, you know, they've been claiming that they've been doing it for 50 years.
Never
you know,
right.
And so, you know, to just do a point-by-point refutation of that, you know, to just say, no, that's wrong because that.
Refute it where? I mean, where do you refute it?
You have to refute, because of course we're up against the gas industry that has all these great commercials out there about how wonderful this is. And they're telling, or this is also from Water Watch, lies such as fracking is safe. Fracking is, for natural gas, gives America a clean bridge fuel between oil and renewables. Fracking is a ticket to American energy security, energy independence. Fracking will create jobs. All of those things, when we go talk to people, whoever it is, whether it's your neighbor or your congressman or whatever, we should be well aware of what you're going to hear and have our answers.
Right, and that is kind of a similar, I mean, that's almost the exact same task.
Well, what's scary is the new energy secretary is mouthing those same assurances. This is a safe alternative.
I like the word evidence-based. There's evidence out there. That's exactly
that's what we need to do. We need to do something very, you know, like citations.
Hey, Cynthia, I'm a little confused. So you'd like to have us refute, you know, the bulleted list on the DEQ site. Refute it like where? Refute it like here? Refute it there? Refute it?
I think that we should just come up with a talking point sheet and we should use it to get the word out to the media, to get the word out to the.
That should be incorporated with education.
Yeah, this is what they say, this is what we found. This is what they
So in
say.
other words, it would be written, and it would be something that could be.
All right, now I have another suggestion, okay? And that is, I know that you were collecting emails and stuff like that. Okay, if he comes up with a real good refutation, I'd like to know about it. And so I'd like to be able to share, not the email addresses just with you, but with all of us. I'd like to have everybody's email
We could
addresses.
set up a listserv, that was another thing that I thought of. We could set up a listserv, we could set up a Google group, we could, I don't know, like name sites, whatever, we could do that. I mean, it's just, we'd have to be sure everybody buys in. And in addition, some people, that's going to miss. And some people are not necessarily going to want to be part of a Google group or even know, what am I signing up for if I'm part of it, right? But still, I think that's something.
What did you say, set up a Google group?
Sure.
Or listen.
That's what they have in too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just an additional thought, let's not forget that this could also follow the air. On the application, it says, is sour oil or gas expected? And their answer is yes. So let's not forget about that.
Which is only, deadly, although I noticed they don't say H2S. H2S contingency plan and close. So they are going to have hydrogen sulfide, but they're not going to have a plan.
Let's not forget about that aspect.
I think the hydrogen sulfide angle is important. I think if we do flyers, we should be sure to include that.
Okay.
Maybe even feature that.
Feature air pollution by hydrogen.
And groundwater. The dangers of hydrogen sulfide. The water obviously is an issue, but a lot of people don't know about hydrogen sulfide.
Yeah. They say that when you can stop smelling it, that's when you're done. It's just scared to death. But I mean, those aren't the only kinds of wells, that produce hydrogen sulfide. I mean, I remember up in Oceana, they had a huge well over there, which I think they launched, like maybe 10, 12 years ago.
Does anyone know the process for the application? When will it be reviewed and denied or pass? And if it passes, when will drilling possibly start? Does anybody know this?
I don't know the answer to that.
How much time do we have to play with here? Because the petitions are nice, changing laws are nice, but that takes a lot of time.
Well,
so we could be drilling.
Can we just have one person talk at a time? Otherwise, I can't really transcribe all of the strategies. And everybody has great ideas, and we want to make sure we get them all out.
What was his question?
Find out the timeline
for the permit.
How much time do we have to play with?
60 days.
60 days?
60 days from application?
Yes.
What application is in December?
30 days.
It will be something.
So we're not going to change any laws or have to get any petitions filled out by then, as great as that is. So I'm thinking direct action is one of the main things I'm thinking about.
All right, so direct action.
We started Boycott Swanson Pickles page.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, that's another one.
I'm going to put up a blog that does the same thing.
Do you need a permit for that?
Oh, yeah.
I also love the rolling highway blockades in Detroit, and if it need be, we can block the equipment from coming into town.
What did you say?
Yay! Rolling, what do you say? Rolling what?
Rolling highway blockades in Detroit for the emergency manager. We could block the equipment from coming into town with a couple cars, and it doesn't take much.
Yeah.
We have people to back it up once those people are removed.
Use your car and Sean's car.
Emergency scenarios here. We just get by us quickly.
So the Boycott, Swanson Pickles, and all the other kind of pickles that are made from their pickles.
Yeah, they are the
Okay, so you gotta boycott McDonald's.
Heinz.
Well, I mean, boycotting McDonald's.
Well, and I heard that they changed all their eggs.
No, that's not a bad idea.
No, it's not.
Right.
It's not.
I didn't come up with that. I just put the page together.
Okay.
The brands are Heinz, Peter Piper's, Dean Foods and Hypets. That's all Swanson brand. Dean Foods, Hypets, and Peter Piper.
Dean Foods, like as in the
They
dairy
pro-
people?
Yeah, they process. They have 2 brands of pickles, and Swanson processes them.
What about, who sells to McDonald's?
You know,
Swanson also received an award last year for farming
What were the last
excellence
two
by
you
the
said?
Farm Bureau, and that's also for community involvement, which is funny.
Ironic, yeah.
So we can write them regarding this as well.
That's good, that's
And write
good.
reviews on Swanson Pickle pages anywhere online, and send them to Swanson. Screenshots of your critical reviews.
I had no idea that Swanson Pickles were that big a deal.
Yeah, me neither. Until I started, I googled it and I looked at like 6 to 10 pages of anything that said Swanson, and you can dig up a lot of information.
So we got to be able to share this stuff. This is going to.
Is there anybody who has an idea who has not talked yet?
I was a little curious, like, can we figure out how, like, I can see if I own my mineral rights or anything like that? Like, I want to know. And I don't. Is there a website?
Do you own a house?
Register of Deeds.
Register of Deeds.
Yeah. Which, there he is right there, Fairchild.
Are you a homeowner?
Oh, I just bought a house.
Well, that should have been in your, what do they call it? They should have declared that to you upon signing.
Yeah, I mean, I would say if they didn't declare that to you, you probably.
There's so much, you know,
It's in part of the disclosure, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll be in my paperwork.
If it's there, they should have told you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look for it there then.
Okay, any other direct actions? Dan?
All right. Now, this wasn't my idea, but I think it's a good one. We were talking over the weekend, and I'm going to try to be really brief with this, but I got to build this a little bit, this context. Okay, now, try not to launch into paranoia or anything like that either, but a lot of the events that have been going on recently seem to be connected, okay? Like, for instance, this Swanson guy happens to be Melching's neighbor, you know, and Melching is the guy who owns Sappy, and Sappy, the old paper mill place, was just seen putting in this big gas pipe into its place, and you know, and I got that on tape, and that is a big gas pipe, and so, you know, the speculation is maybe Melching's going to be a fracking port. You know, the thing with the power plant going to be shut down for all this time. I've been hearing about the power plant going to be shut down. When I'm watching them put new towers in for the last couple of years. And now, again, more transmission lines. I guess what the MLI said, that these are to replace old deteriorated. They're not. They're new lines. They're growing. They're not just replacing, it appears. And so anyway, everything seems to be connected. Now here this guy, the Swanson guy, who's got this first application for fracking, is also one of the big lenders, the big money guys who's giving away the farmer's market. Again, why in the world would an investor, a successful investor, want to fork out a bunch of his money, develop some property, and then just give it away to the city? That had me scratching my head, unless now the city's beholding to him to say, okay, well, now we'll scratch your back. You want to do some fracking stuff with a port? Let's do it. Anyway, the idea that came up with, somebody ought to write an open letter to the community foundation asking for his resignation, because he shouldn't be sitting on that board and lining his pockets at the same time.
They want to move the Clipper too, which is right down.
Swanson is on the
Yeah.
foundation board?
Yeah.
Well, I need no
I mean, this is like our mayor bringing a big ferry right across the street from his bar, you know?
Okay, so did you want to work on that?
Well, this is brainstorming, right? No idea is a bad idea, right?
Right.
Okay, so I was thinking about a big party. No, okay, that's...
Well,
So did you say asking for resignation?
Yeah, open letter, yeah. And I agree, the Chronicle's worthless. We'd have to publicize this our own. I won't even talk to the Chronicle anymore. I won't even talk to them. They misrepresent me every time I do.
let us know.
Well, it's telling if they're not
Paint
even
all the
here.
media with the same.
Yeah, that's telling, isn't it, Dawn? Right, yeah.
I'm thinking
Advanced.
about how, you know, we don't know where the next application will be for which township where in, say, Muskegon County. So maybe we need to get an educational presentation out there. And we have this thing on the 5th Monday where we host a hot topic for all the Muskegon County-wide planning commissions. All the members of the planning commissions come together and hear a hot topic, informational presentation. So maybe we need to have the fracking be our next topic.
Well, do you think they would be willing to listen to Jim Olson? I mean, Jim Olson, he's a well-respected individual.
Well, let's talk about that, because I can suggest the speakers for that.
Yeah.
And it might not be soon enough for Ravenna, but it might be soon enough for the next place.
I completely agree I think there probably are better and worse places to do it. For example, I don't think the city of Muskegon makes a bit of difference. I don't think anybody's going to crap. But some of these outlying areas, let's get to the township governments let's be proactive.
What about setting up a viewing of that gas line for one thing?
A what?
That documentary.
I believe that there's a group out at the community college who is going to show that. But Lori, do you have
I just got the mail the other day. We're just watching it a couple nights ago.
It's awful.
So we can show it.
Scary. I don't know.
I haven't seen it yet. I will. I got it recorded. I'll look it up.
Well, the trailer, I know you can show that because Sean Malaway had it on when we were challenging the county on fracking. He had it on his website.
Good for you.
The trailer. And that's what I hope to have on a
believe
rotating thing where it keeps going at
It's I'm very pro anti-fracking, but you want to be careful using gas signage Bible, because there is a large contingent out there that thinks it was highly manufactured, and there's no documentary that answers to that. Basically, the side of it that it was shot out of sequence, blah blah blah. So you don't want to use gas signage. It is the unknown that I think personally that I push is that you don't know what these chemicals are going to do to your water, to your kids, to your grandkids. It's the unknown is not proven.
Okay, well, what we're doing now is just throwing out, brainstorming means just strategizing and throwing out strategies like Dan said without any kind of judgment, without any kind of feasibility.
That's why I'm basically saying,
But that's a good suggestion, so as part of our strategy, individually, that we will know that is something we're going to put back in.
Right, there we go. How about this?
Fracnation is the name of that. Fracnation is the counter it's the guy who's pro
Does that end
gas.
up being anti-fracking too?
No.
But maybe we could go look for some other documentaries.
Yeah, there are others.
There's a lot,
Okay, strategy, look for other documents.
Just because we need to wrap this up fairly soon, is there anybody who hasn't spoken who wants to say something? Yes.
My friend Bldg and I just made these flyers to pass out if there's information on them that we love.
Cool.
The logo of Swanson Fracking. And we've been passing around and leaving them out front.
She's an activist.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to educate ourselves as well. I mean, there are lots of questions. Yes.
What about food safety? These farmers, with the Food Safety Modernization Act, these farmers are going to have their water tested for their irrigation and stuff. This is going to completely destroy their water sources and in turn their farms. So what about from that angle?
Yeah. Well, and this is me talking. The angle is water usage, because I think even at the state level we can do something about it with water usage possible.
Well, since it's such a huge amount.
Yeah, it's huge.
And then the disposal.
Anybody else? Mark, you have? Oh, Joe, I'm sorry, it's you guys.
We also have to remind people that they really should get a water test done right now prior. And then whenever it goes downhill, then they're...
It's good.
Right,
So
so...
the Conservation District still does that? Or they still do that?
Well, the baseline water test, you might go to the county health department, but you have to know what to ask for because it can be expensive. If you just get the cheap one, you're only going to get like nitrates of phosphorus or something, but we're going to, but what is it, like methane and...
Other than sun,
There are
they can't
different
even test
things to ask for, and each thing has a price.
You don't even know what they have in what chemicals to test for, because you don't know what is in their slurry that they're sticking down the hole anyhow. So how the hell do you know what to test for when you don't know?
Radioactive isotopes.
Yeah.
I had 131 they got. So we do have to, the strategy is find out what to test for. for it and get the word out as to what to get tested for. Maybe we can figure out a way to pay for it.
How are we going to communicate this stuff?
Really,
Well,
in the
I
right
mean,
area.
there are ways to communicate it. However, I mean, I think one of the things that I'm going to propose is maybe having meetings, you know, that would. Okay, what was yours?
I'm way out in Wolf Lake. We have what's called Wolf Lake World News, and I'll tell you what, that thing has worked within our community. We've got over 2,000 people on there already. And what I did also, I'm a Fruitport graduate, and I just started my own small group, and that's built up to over 80-some classmates already. So something like that, just go on Facebook, create that group, and start getting people, and you can also go in and just check out the fracking that's on Facebook.
Hey, Dylan, you can do it right now. Couldn't you get the thing with you?
Well, I think each township or each local area should have their own Facebook group to do that and then link with each other's, information.
Yeah, but I mean, really, I think the Google group would be good for that. You know, you can certainly do it, over Facebook, but it gets a little unmoved. Yes.
Well, can we set, if we're going to be wrapping up soon, can we set a suggestion of what our next move will be from here?
Well, we're going to have people sign up for things.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess.
With their phone number.
I was thinking this is a one-time shot.
Yeah, right, John.
Is it a one-time shot?
I wonder if we could have like an annual meeting. Word's going to get around, there's going to be other people that are concerned that might want to get involved.
Annual.
I'm thinking
Into it
we
more
set
often
up,
than that.
I don't know, once a
Dead.
month, once every couple of weeks, like an annual, so that people know when it's going to be.
Okay.
Monthly.
Yeah, I like that better.
Every other month? No. Monthly?
No, monthly.
Twice a month?
Monthly, yeah.
At least before, anything beyond that. At least the committees. What about
I mean, if we're trying to do something urgent now, we can have like little touch it.
No, I just said, so you're going to get some notes out or something?
Well, no,
I'm putting them up so people can sign up for what they're interested in
we're
doing.
actually going to come up with these sign-up sheets. We're going to look at what Karen, that's why you're going to write it on the sheets. We're going to look at what you came up with and say, I mean, for example, we have on here, get flows of water from the salt. Well, that obviously, coordinates with the other one that Captain.
Well, I like that to do that tonight, but I think if, not to give you more work here, but if you have it typed up, and then we can get it out to other people that we know.
Right.
We wanted to make sure that we captured the energy that was here, so people made a commitment, and so they felt like they had to come back and report on what they've done. And the one thing that you had said about planning commissions, what was that called again?
It's the Muskegon County Planning Commission's meetings, and you can get a hold of me about it, because I can get I can suggest presenters for that. It's a regular meeting that they do on the 5th Monday. It's an informational meeting, whenever the 5th Monday. Well, it's a few times a year, but
Well,
be prepared to defend.
You bet. I always figure there's no way in the world I'm going to die young.
Well, I don't care when I go, just as long as it's proper.
I want it to be spectacular.
Maybe it's better to try and.
I don't plan on going and having.
Maybe it's better to try and organize. I had these sheets and I was just going to fill in here and then people could sign up. But we've already lost some people, and so maybe it's a better idea to try and do that over email and say, okay, what is it that you want to sign up? Because it gives us an opportunity to, already solve it.
Usually when you have brainstorming 20 items, the next step in the process is to get that down to 5 or 6 committees or 5 or 6 main ideas, because there's a lot of things on there that are similar.
Right now.
I don't think we have time to do
No, I agree. I think that,
But if you just took and signed your name next to something you were interested in doing, then we would know who was interested in what.
I'm interested in a lot of it, but I have to go. So I'm gonna get something email or whatever, and then we'll do it.
So I really think that that's probably the best way to set it up. All right, so thanks everybody for coming. I appreciate it, and if you do want to sign up for anything, you have a cash and credit, you can do it.
Hey, Dylan, I'm going to sneak around here. Can you guys? How you doing? Good to see you. It's been too long.